Okay, welcome back. So today we are going to try to remove the brake caliper bolts with an electric impact wrench. Why electric? Well, mainly because once I lose this garage, I won't have access to my beefy air compressor. It runs off a 220 volt, so the next place I'm going won't have that power available. Keeping the air compressor, but won't have it. So electric it is. This one is a Kawasaki half-inch, 7.5 amp electric impact wrench. I got it off of Amazon. We're going to see live here how this works. So what this is rated to is supposedly 220 foot-pounds, and we'll see. This brake caliper bolt should be set to I believe 95 foot-pounds. Probably a bad idea. Oh well. Yeah, bad idea. Unbelievable, come on. Okay, I'm gonna have to go get an air impact gun. So now I'm gonna try to, I've already disconnected the brake pad wear sensor. I'm gonna try to disconnect the ABS sensor. So the ABS sensor just runs around in this little wire here, all the way up in here. This little grommet here was plugged into the wheel well up here, and you can kind of see the looks like there's, I guess, 2 wire connections. So I'm going to try to pull these through this little grommet hole here, at which point I will unplug them. Okay, now we're going to try this with the proper tools, shall we? Okay, let's go check the pressure regulator of my air compressor. Okay, so I just tried the 3/8 inch impact gun, air gun, and it didn't work. Here's the 1/2 inch. It looks like it already broke it free, so let's see. Okay, awesome. And I already had broken free the lower bolt. Okay. Alright. There you have it. This whole thing's free now. And basically all that's left is I just have to tie the rotor and caliper assembly up. So I think I'm going to tie it up to this control arm. And there you have it. So I just wanted to make some notes so when I put this back together I know what to do. So this is the last, well, second to last piece of the puzzle over here that I'm going to do. So I'm going to remove, I believe this is called the control arm here. It kind of connects to the steering rack, I believe. And might be hard to see, but the pin that went through this knuckle here, it has like a flat end. So it looks like it's facing towards the front of the car. I removed this nut and this bolt. So the nut was on this this bolt here. This was sticking, well, here, this was sticking through. I just hammered it out, and then the bolt that I just showed on the floor was in the top up here. So now the fun part of trying to pop this free. Okay, there you have it. I'm kind of excited about this. So what I had done was this was up in the knuckle. I had screwed the bolt back into the top, just a couple threads, and then tapped on the head of the bolt, and it popped right loose. So as far as I know, let's get some light up here. As far as I know, this should do it for the side of the car. The only thing I'm not sure about is this sensor here. I'll have to ask online about that one. And what else do we got here? So now it's just up to the top 3 bolts on top of the tower, and this side should be ready to rock. Okay, so one more thing that I wanted to make note of and that I need to follow up on. So I was just working on the driver's side brakes and control rod, control arm. I was having problems. I broke free the bottom brake caliper bolt, but the top one was the one that I was having a hell of a time with. You can see I kind of, it's not in focus, but kind of was almost stripping this bolt out and everything. Now, one thing that I noticed was the top bolt, the one I was having problems with, did not have a washer on there. So I need to follow up and see if it's supposed to have a washer. Maybe that was why I was fighting it. So it seemed like way more than 95 foot-pounds. I'd use a 1/2 inch impact gun, heat it up, everything. So yeah. And we're back. Okay, so I had already done the driver's side, and I figured I might as well film the entire process of me taking apart the passenger side. So I was unable to find any videos that specifically showed this on YouTube already out there. So I figured, why not do it on camera so anyone else that needs to be able to do this can do it themselves. So what I'm currently working on, I'm going to break this into a separate video for just showing this process only. But This is actually a video series as part of a larger process of me dropping the subframe so I can install my Tantrum Works downpipes. Alright, so this is a 2002 Tiptronic B5 Audi S4, and the tools that I'm going to be using for this job are a 1/2-inch air impact gun. I also have a 3/8 gun. We're going to be using a 21mm socket to bust loose the caliper bolts. There's 2 caliper bolts. We are going to be using a 13mm to break loose the tie rod bolt, as well as a 16mm to break free the knuckle that holds the tie rod. After that, we are going to, I'm also going to go over removing the sensors. So we have the brake pad sensor here, as well as the ABS sensor. So that's around the back side here. So I'll show you how to do that, as well as which bolts you need to loosen up in the engine bay from above to loosen and disconnect the strut. So here we go. Let's get to it. So what I'm going to first do is try to break free the bolts for the caliper. I'll start with the lower one here, if I can see it. So these are the big ones. So there's 2 of them. One on the bottom, one up more towards the top. So the bottom one's pretty much opposite of this here. And these are the 21mm bolts. I'm sure my air compressor is going to kick on any minute now. So these have already been sprayed down with a penetrant. Okay, I'll be back as soon as the air compressor is done running and refilling here. So an interesting side note about these caliper bolts, the 2 21mm caliper bolts, I believe their torque rating or setting is 95 foot-pounds of torque. So I had tried on the other side. I was able to break one of them free on the other side, and I could not for the life of me break the other bolt free by hand. So I had to call in the big guns and go with an impact gun. So from what I had read, they're not easy to break free. I don't know if it's because they seize up or if it's just because of the torque rating, because they're on so damn hard. But so just keep that in mind, that you're gonna need a lot of power. And as you can see, this 1/2-inch impact gun is still having a problem pulling them off, and I might have to up the regulator air pressure going to this thing. It's just okay. the fun part about trying to film something like this that you haven't already done or pre-loosened everything or whatever is when you run into problems, it kind of makes you look like an idiot. I'll have to bring the camera in for a close-up too, but it looks like my brake line's about to rupture too. That's gonna need to be replaced. Okay, well, spray some freeze-off super penetrant on these bolts in hopes of being able to these bolts really are not fun. I don't even know at this point how I'm going to get a good enough angle in on these to be able to torque them down to put them back on, but it's always something. I'm going to go check my regulator pressure that's running to this gun, and I'll be right back. So my regulator for my air compressor is only giving me about 90 psi from my air compressor, and I mean I should be pulling, I want to pull like 130 or so. So I'm not quite sure what to do about that. I mean, this is a 1/2 inch gun, this thing can handle it. So that's part of the problem. My regulator for my air compressor is supposed to go up to 160, so I'm not quite sure why it's only going to about 90. Well, I'll try again. If this doesn't break free, what I'll do is see if I can loosen it by hand or something, I don't know. And then what I'll do also is I'll show you how to do everything else, I guess. Let's make sure the gun's set to reverse. Yeah, it's on reverse. Alright, look at that. I think this is the gun power setting. It's set to 1. 0 through 5. Alright, let's change that. Let's maybe go up to 3. Oh boy. There's your problem, I bet. Okay. Alright, here we go. Let's crank this bad boy up. We're at 5 now. This is a Alright, so I'll come back as soon as my air compressor fills back up again. And we're back once again. Alright, let's see if we can get it going. did there was I changed from the extension with the bit, with the socket, to just a deep well socket. I don't know what the difference is. So just a note, there's no washer on this bolt. And I ran into this problem on the other side. One of the bolts had a washer, the other one did not. On the other side, the one that did not have the washer was damn near impossible to remove. So I'm going to have to look into this and see if these bolts are supposed to have washers, because this is not fun or easy to do. You can see how much trouble I'm having using a big ass impact gun. I can't imagine trying to get these free by hand. I tried it on the other side. I pretty much had a stroke and still didn't even budge them. So, alright. Okay, so now we remove the bottom caliper bolt. Before I remove the top bolt, I'm going to disconnect the sensors. So as soon as I remove that top bolt, this entire caliper is going to fall off, essentially. So I don't want it dangling by these sensors. So as you may or may not know, our cars here have brake pad wear sensors as well as ABS sensors. I guess if your car has ABS, I think they all do, but what do I know? Alright, so this top sensor here, this is for the brake pad wear sensor. So it comes down through the wheel well, comes around here, and then off camera you can kind of see the wire here goes to the brake pad sensor. So you can see at some point someone broke this connector, which is common. I probably broke a few of them already, and ironically enough I had the same solution. So essentially wire tie it, or zip tie it. So I'm going to cut this zip tie. Try to pull it through here. So this is the zip tie that was fished around here, and then this should just pull loose here. We need a little bit of persuasion. It appears the locking clip was broken off, so it should just pull out. Okay, there you go. Sorry if that's not in focus. Okay. So that is the this is the brake pad wear sensor. So what I want to do, this bracket that's holding this connector is mounted to the caliper. The caliper needs to stay with the body, whereas the you know, the spindle, the hub, all that stuff is gonna drop with the subframe. So I essentially want to remove this connector from this bracket, and the way to go about doing that is basically just use a pair of pliers. So this is kind of like a spin lock type mechanism, and you just put your pliers in here and twist it gentle. You don't want to break those wires, and once you kind of turn it 90 degrees you can pull it straight out of this bracket here. So mine's kind of covered in gunk and stuff. So here's it's almost like a locking lever. So it was in, you spin it down, this locking lever pretty much locks into a little hole down below here, and that locks it in for good. Let's see here. Okay, this one's a little different than the other side. Okay, it looks like this one's almost permanently in this tab. Okay, so that's the brake pad wear sensor. We unplugged it. I showed you how to pop this out. I think I can pry it out of the bracket down below there, but for right this moment I'm just gonna leave it. So these are all rubber lines, so I'm gonna leave it as is. Okay, so moving on, Now we have all we have left are the brake pad wear, or I'm sorry, that was the brake pad wear sensor. Now we have the ABS sensor. So I will change my camera angle and we'll be right back. Alright, and we're back again. So we're gonna disconnect the ABS sensor now, and the line that runs to the ABS sensor comes up through this little grommet up in the wheel well here, and this grommet pops out pretty easily with just a screwdriver, and all you gotta do is pull it out and you can see the actual bare wires up in here. And there's two connectors, I believe a black one and a red one. So I believe the I'm just guessing here, but I think the black one is for the brake pad wear sensor and the red one is for the ABS sensor. Orange, whatever color that is, I don't know. Alright, so I just pulled the wires out, as you can see here, and I'm just gonna disconnect them. These are just simple pull connectors. Now be careful when you pull them out that they don't snap back into that hole. That would probably be a bear to get to. So right now here is the wires dangling, and let me see if I can change the angle here just a little bit. It's kind of hard to see in there, but here's the wires here, and there's just a couple push pins that this runs to and through. So I am going to pop them out of there, fish it around this brake line here. Okay. Get those wire connectors through there. Come on. Alright. Okay. Alright, now you can see there's a bracket back in behind here that holds everything to the I guess that's the frame or the chassis, whatever you want to call it. So that bolt would be a 10 millimeter, and we're gonna just disconnect this bracket that holds, or this, we're gonna remove this bolt that holds the bracket to the chassis. Okay. Alright, so that was a 10 millimeter bolt, and now this bracket and wiring and everything is loose to move around. So this is our wire here, and I loosened this bracket so that way we have a little bit more slack on the brake line itself. This is the sensor line on the right here towards the front of the car. I'm gonna pop the how did I do this last time? Let me think about this here. Okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do is pull this sensor wires out of this bracket here. It should slide out. Now the only reason why it's not is because it's held in by this gray clip, and you know, I should be able to pop this great clip out and not have to break it, but I wasn't able to do that on the other side of the car. So, and getting so frustrated with all of this that I just want to break this clip. But I will see if I can have a little patience, and I'm gonna move the camera out of the way so I can get in there, and I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, we're back again. So here it is. What I did, I just cut that gray connector. I was done trying to mess with it and try to fish it out nicely and not break it or whatever. So I cut the gray connector, which freed up the line. I popped the line out of this metal bracket here. And now the this line here is only attached to the caliper. So that way when we disconnect the caliper, we can swing it up to the body. We'll probably tie it up to the control arm, or the tie rod, or whatever this guy is up top here, up here by this knuckle, and that way it'll stay with the body as we lower down the subframe. So okay, so now we should be able to move on to the top bolt for the caliper, and let me change positions again. This upper bolt I'm having a little harder time getting to with my getting my gun to fit in there. So I have a 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter, and then I have a 21mm socket on that. I was having problems where my impact gun would not fit in the wheel well here. I can't. Okay, before my battery dies again, I'll just explain what I'm doing. So right now I'm pulling off the top caliper bolt. And a little tip or trick that I have is to put in a lug nut that'll keep the rotor from falling and hitting the ground when you pull the caliper. After that, then I'm just going to remove this bolt up. Remove this nut up here, this bolt up here, and then I'll screw this bolt in and tap down, and it'll pop this this out. And then from there are just 5 bolts up top to remove. So I'll kind of show you those real quick right now. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to remove these caps, and there'll be 2 more nuts underneath there, and from there that will release the whole top up here, and that should do it. So sorry my camera's dying, so I have to kind of cut it here, but I'll do another recap, and yeah, that's it. So 1 more caliper bolt, 1 nut, 1 bolt, and then 3 bolts, 2, 3, and 2 nuts. So there you go. Okay, just to give you an update as to what's going on here. So the top bolt for the caliper will still not break free. I cranked up my air compressor. I figured out how to 130 psi. My regulator is now showing 130 psi. Even with the 1/2 inch impact gun, this thing still won't break free. I just noticed that the brake lines on the back side of the caliper are really tight to the bolt, and the socket was essentially rubbing on that little hard line, and I mean I'm pretty much almost broke through that brake line. So I'm probably now gonna have to replace the brake lines too. This is more than I bargained for, obviously. I'm just frustrated. So at this point I guess I'm committed. I mean, I already have the entire rest of the car pulled apart. So I got the drive shaft disconnected, I got the whole front end removed, I got the coolant drain, the power steering drains, I got the whole other side undone. So I got the caliper off on the other side, got the strut released, the tie rod, all that. So I mean I'm in the home stretch, and it's always just the way these things work, I suppose. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna take a friggin' torch to this thing with my impact at 130 pounds, and I don't know, see what happens. Like I said, I'm probably gonna burst through this brake line, and whatever. I don't know. So I'll be researching, I guess, stainless steel brake lines or whatever. I don't even know if whatever. So yeah, let's have some fun with this at this point. So I figured this would be like an hour job just doing these brake calipers. The other side seemed to bust free relatively easy with the impact gun, but this side is still not having it. So I'm speechless. Yeah. So okay, stay tuned. Okay, so I guess you guys can follow along as I totally destroy my car here. I don't even know. I'm gonna I mentioned it already, but I'm going to take a torch to this friggin' thing, and maybe that, by some grace of God, will work. I just sprayed this thing with penetrant. No clue if this stuff is flammable. I guess extremely flammable. Okay. So well, maybe I should go get the fire extinguisher. So when I light this thing, it may wow, I don't know. Wow. So I'm getting all the sensor wires and all that out of the way, so when I get this torch rocking, I'm not burning sensors and all that too. So like I said, okay, there's the brake pad wear sensor. Let's just do this without let's just ignite this and see what happens. So what I got is MAP gas, it's a yellow bottle, and I don't even know. Let's see what they say here. Okay. Of course it won't get on there while the bolt is still hot. Well, I didn't burst through the brake line yet. Soon enough. Alright, something moved. No clue what. I don't know if that was just a bracket bending. Okay. Okay, so it's got to be loose. The whole caliper just rotated. Basically, that's what moved. Wow. So I don't know. All I can think is that this entire caliper is kind of like bound up one way or another. Okay, I don't know. Running out of ideas.